Welcome back to the channel. Let's explore together. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be breaking down the major disses and themes to my song, Death to YouTube Rap. Reason for this is I've seen quite a bit of comments and social media posts, some of which were DMs I wasn't supposed to really be involved with, that show a decent enough misunderstanding of this track that I think we need to address some things. I'm not gonna do like a full traditional reaction. I'm gonna kind of go through the highlight reel of the song, of the things that I've seen the most confusion around, specifically who I dissed, who I didn't diss, why I dissed them, what the disses or non-disses mean, and why this song exists. So let's get into all of that. If you have no idea what's happening here, I'm involved in, by accident, some of the YouTube rap scene. Even though I'm more of a musician who sometimes raps than a rapper, it's complicated, and there were just some things I had to address. So here we go. First of all, one of the big themes that you'll notice in the visuals and the title and everything else of this song. Song's titled Death to YouTube Rap, but the words death to YouTube rap never occur in the song. And instead, what the chorus and the visuals strongly imply is that YouTube rap is already dead. What I'm basically alluding to, and one of the main premises of this song, is that there are certain parts of the YouTube rap community that have never had any life to them, that have always been dead and decrepit, but sometimes people act like they're thriving artistic expressions. And so this isn't me saying that I am killing YouTube rap. I'm at a cemetery. I'm just pointing out that it's dead. I say many times, fuck YouTube rap, it's better off dead. I'm not saying that I'm killing it. I'm saying it's already gone. And the title is a play on Crypt's track, Death to Mumble Rap, not as a slight to Crypt, but legitimately as a vessel to draw attention to the people who I want to listen to this song, a lot of whom, whether they liked or disliked Death to Mumble Rap, exist in that culture. So that was literally to draw your attention to, hey, I'm talking about you people, you fans, you musicians who know what Death to Mumble Rap is. I'm talking about a lot of you. So come on, let's chat. So that's kind of premise, meaning, etc. of song. So let's get to the first thing that people talk about. Again, we're not talking about everything. So one of the biggest things here is Tom MacDonald's the first person to get sort of shots at here, right here.
Oh, McDonald can't understand that for every dozen songs he drops, there's only one from the stand. There's something more than stupid pop for edgy boomers out on Instagram.
Now, is this a diss on Tom? Yes and no. One thing for me that I consider a diss on someone is it would have to be an effective diss. It has to be something that would actually hurt that person. It would make them upset. This would not upset Tom. So if it's a diss, it is not an effective diss. So why this wouldn't hurt Tom is because Tom knows what I'm saying. I'm pointing out something that's true about Tom that he's aware of. Now what I say here is, oh, MacDonald can't understand that for every dozen songs he drops, there's only one with room to stand as something more than edgy pop, or as something more than stupid pop for edgy boomers out on Instagram. Basically, I'm talking about the fact that Tom MacDonald over the past 2 or 3 years especially has kind of diluted his style down to appeal to a specific niche that makes him a lot of money. But he knows he's done this. This isn't news to him. He puts on a front on social media as if he's making very inspired and purposeful music, but most of what he does is not that. In fact, I would say, if Tom was being very honest with himself and others, some of his most inspired and meaningful projects have been the ones he's done very closely with Nova, the ones he did with was Brandon Hart, you know, his heart emojis, things like that. Those are much closer to home for Tom than the political songs. Tom does definitely have a strong political opinion in the moderate sectors such as mine, and you saw that a lot more in his older political songs. Dear rappers, even sad rappers, a little more modern. White Boy, even, for some of its more over-the-top antics, was still very rooted in not just being a marketing ploy, and really Tom talking about how he felt politically. And a lot of those songs were very nuanced as well, and they had a lot of layers. Now, what Tom has done in his modern stuff is removed most of the nuance and layers for very jaded, you would see this posted on older Gen X or younger baby boomers Facebook or Instagram. And it's because Tom assumes his audience is not smart enough for the nuance, and it will sell better if he dumbs it down. And unfortunately, Tom is absolutely right. You could see that in his popularity spike, in his comment sections on social media and YouTube. He is pandering to the lowest common denominator, and there's unfortunately just more of them than there are of the people who appreciated his more technical and nuanced stuff. So what I'm saying here is I'm just pointing out the obvious. And when I say, oh, McDonald can't understand, I'm not saying Tom doesn't actually understand. I'm saying that his public persona doesn't understand it. He portrays himself as, oh, these are just haters that don't know what I'm doing. They don't understand. Look at the numbers. He knows. He doesn't believe that. He knows what he's doing is a product, which a lot of this song is about people who are making a product before they're making art. They're making something with the sole intention of it being popular rather than the sole intention of it being worthwhile. So there's the first one. Next, we talk about the Pokemon ciphers and YouTube rap ciphers in general. We'll just let that play for real quick.
Faces spitting bars about some Pokemon. It's a con, get it? They know the fans are dumb. That's you, go sweat it.
So what we're talking about here is these Pokemon ciphers, a lot of this nerdcore stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it is literally just like what Tom McDonald's doing. The reason I put these two together is because a lot of the people from the nerdcore will try to call out Tom McDonald as cringy and everything. And I think that has more to do with a lot of nerdcores are liberals than it does what Tom McDonald's actually doing. So they don't like a lot of his rhetoric being so conservative. But basically, I'm putting them as two sides of the same coin. I'm like, no, you don't get to call out Tom McDonald. You don't get to say that he's the cringy one. Look, I understand that Tom McDonald's doing something that's more of a commodity than an art form, but so are you. You're rapping about Charizard and you're not even trying to make a joke about it. You're acting like it's serious. You don't take that seriously. You just know that it makes you money and gets you clout, and you kind of like Pokemon. It's the same thing Tom's doing. He doesn't take it all seriously. Even though he portrays himself as taking it seriously, he likes talking about politics and he knows how to talk about it that makes him money. They're both doing the same thing. And the artistic integrity is completely gone. When you're just making a product that you know will sell, it's hard for you to say that that has the same artistic merit as someone who's just making something because they're making an art form. And I'm not saying you can't make art that's meant to be sellable. You can't make art that's meant to be good and mainstream. That's fine. But when the crux of your art is based entirely on a gimmick, and nothing else deeper within that gimmick, there's no hidden meaning to it, there's no like bigger picture, it's just the gimmick, well then, yeah, your art comes into question. So let's move on. Another thing that people have said, yeah, here we go. The start of the second verse. So I said, did you hear that? Actually, let's just play it real quick.
Did you hear that guy got the cookout canceled?
We're just gonna play through this spot.
You really think they care about this asshole? I should've known better than to trust fake friends. Salty bitches, twisted stories, I've seen the DMs. Call it cribs and yo, this shit true?
All right, so a couple things have come out of this. Actually, let me finish this because I do the other side of the story.
He's like, I got bigger problems than your Twitter views. People cheap, needed to escape and came for a go. No more secrets to keep, go wine, bitch, and weave. This time it's scheme, who's cutting throats?
All right, so there was a rumor when the Cookout was canceled last year that it was because of me and some Twitter beef that I had had in the past with Dizzy 8, and then some beef that I had with T-Rev. And this rumor was propelled by a lot of conversations and DMs where there was screenshots of my tweets. There were videos of myself, Gatsby, and PFV on a live stream where Gatsby and PFV were talking about they didn't like the waiting conditions for the cipher that we made at the Cookout because we were all out in the heat all day. And those were being circulated as the reasons, the drama within the community that led to the Cookout being canceled. So a lot of people were saying, man, if it wasn't for Scheme and people like Scheme causing trouble, the Cookout would have still happened. Now, I had reached out to Crypt during the time, and I reached out to Crypt recently because it still hadn't sat well with me. Said, did I actually have anything to do with it? Because I don't feel like I did. I think the timing was just weird. And he's confirmed many times, no, you had pretty much less than nothing to do with it. I was annoyed at the time that there was drama that you were involved in because I don't like any of the drama, but the reasons for that being canceled were far removed. Crip talked about it many times on Instagram Live. The reason he canceled the cookout had a lot to do with his address getting out to people he didn't want it to get out to, vandalism on his property, and it was getting out of hand. If it was about YouTube drama and YouTube beef, there were people who were on the guest list who actually hated each other, who if they all showed up would have been very interesting. Me, I was just making fun of and trolling people on Twitter, which is a lot different than having like genuine beef with someone. Like there's very few people in this community who, you know, you would say, hey, don't let this person and Scheme be in a room together. And none of those people were on the guest list at the cookout. But nevertheless, the rumor it kept gaining traction because people wanted a scapegoat, and you know, weird boy, very blunt, not always well-liked Scheme is an easy target. So I became the scapegoat, even amongst circles of my friends, circulating the fact that I got the cookout canceled. And people usually reinforced that narrative by the fact that I held my own cookout after the fact. But that was more because people had already bought plane tickets and stuff, or had already taken vacation. And I said, well, you can come to my house. It's good for hosting. So I invited people over who I wanted to see anyway. So that's where that is. That's not a diss on Crypt. I've told Crypt directly that I was annoyed that he wasn't more public in exonerating me, because I was like, there's a lot of people saying this within my circles. I would like for you to publicly say it's not because of me. And so I was annoyed that never happened. But that this whole segment isn't a diss on Crypt. Crypt and I are good. He knows that I don't like how he handled that situation in regards to me. We've talked about it, and you know, shit happens. You're not always gonna like everything that everyone that you have in your circle does, but it doesn't mean that Crypt and I aren't good, and it doesn't mean that this is a diss on Crypt. It's not. It's a diss on all of the people who talked out their ass about what they didn't know about.
So I suppose there's some bozos for me to expose.
Now I'm going through this spot because now we're going into a bunch of name drops that I need to explain.
Till I was dizzy with no shows, never brought my own hose when starting a fire.
So dizzy with no shows, a lot of people pointed out, Dizzy 8, oh my god, Dizzy 8. It's not a diss on Dizzy 8. This is just a reference to the fact that early on, I told people that Dizzy 8 was kind of a shady character, especially when it comes to money and things. And there have been a lot of people over the last couple years who whisper the same things now about Dizzy. And so I'm not throwing any new shade on Dizzy. I don't know anything that Dizzy's done because I don't pay attention to him anymore. But I'm just saying, hey, people are always talking about, well, if you know all this crap about people, you should expose them. I get messages about random people that I know or don't know, and people are like, well, you always say you're real. Why don't you expose these people? I'm like, first of all, it's not my business unless they interact with me. And second of all, when I've done that, nobody cared. So stop acting like you care. So that's why I say I got dizzy with no shows. Nobody showed up when I literally showed people, hey, here is evidence that he was shady with money during XYZ thing, and he scammed people. And everyone's like, but I like Dizzy. I was like, okay, so there's no point. So this wasn't a shot at Dizzy. Again, this was a shot at people's lack of reaction when I told them what Dizzy was up to a few years ago. Dizzy could be a fully changed man at this point. I don't pay attention to him. So that wasn't really a shot at Dizzy. That was a reference to people not acting on what I told them about what he was doing at the time, 2 or 3 years ago.
Maybe I should cheat and fake it like a mofo till they mark me McGuire to my.
Now here's another one. McGuire. McGuire's a nerdcore artist. Now this is a Mark McGuire reference. Mark McGuire, former baseball player who cheated to get a home run world record. But it doubles for McGuire, who is, most of you would know, as a nerdcore artist. Now, this isn't a slight at McGuire. McGuire noticed this. He commented, he said the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme where he's got the beer and pointing. And I don't even know if McGuire really knows what I'm saying here, so I'll let you all know. This goes to a kind of, for me, is maybe a one-sided inside joke with McGuire. He, a couple years ago, transitioned into doing a lot more nerdcore. And he did nerdcore explicitly to try to get attention to his real music, which is not nerdcore. He doesn't have a built-in, or at least didn't when he started in, have a built-in passion for nerdcore. He was, roommating with Cam Steady, video game rap battles guy. And I'm assuming they were in each other's ears about how to grow and market your music. McGuire is very, especially when I had first found him, extremely underappreciated as an artist. Made some of the best music out there and get like 100 views. So going the nerdcore way to get attention to him was marketing smarts. But we had a conversation as he was transitioning into that, where I was like, so you're really just gonna fake it for clout, huh? And he's like, yep. It's like, well, that's the cheat code. That's the cheat code. Go get it. And what I'm saying here is in the theme of the rest of the song. I'm not dissing him for it. It's kind of like, reactions are another way to try to get attention to your music. You get a bunch of clout from reactions and you say, hey, I also make music. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to make some nerdcore because everyone wants to see a song about Goku and maybe people listen to my real music. What I'm, again, differentiating is my annoyance and my grievance is when people will be like, the McGuire song about Goku was the true art. No, it's not. The EP he released 2 years ago and his current projects, those are his true art. The nerdcore is the marketing. And when anyone tries to pitch it as anything else, I'm like, stop it. You're lying to yourself. There's marketing, knowingly marketing. It's not something that McGuire was just, I'm passionate about anime. I'm going to do nerdcore. It was, no one's listening to my music. I know how to get them to listen to music. I like these cartoons well enough. Let's do that. And so that's what I'm pointing out. I don't consider that a diss on McGuire. McGuire and I don't really talk anymore. I think, again, because he's close with Cam and Cam can't fucking stand me. So that was more of just a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Here's an example of how the nerdcore community is not always what the fans make it out to be. This big artistic appreciation for anime. A lot of people are involved because they want to make their real art, and this is a good means by which to get people to look at it. Just like reactions. The only thing I ever ask of people is call a spade a spade. Call it what it is. That's why earlier in the song I say just call the pander product what it is. Enjoy, man. Get lit. Just call it what it is, and I'm fine.
Wife not to let her voice get too heavy, so she won't provoke the feminist standing steady.
Tell my wife not to let her voice get too heavy so she won't provoke the feminist standing steady. Here's where we're getting into just something that's more of a diss. That's about Cam Steady because the reason he doesn't like me is because I made a video about, a mostly joking video about women in leadership that was scripted by my wife. And then he said in a comment that it was a very ignorant video, and I replied politely to him, just kind of trying to let him know about the misunderstanding, and my wife went in on him, just went in on him not being, as a man, he shouldn't tell her how to interpret being a woman or feminism. And ever since that moment, Cam Steady has blacklisted me as a crazy sexist. I think he's tried to say that I'm also transphobic and homophobic in some DMs I've seen. Him and Freshy went on a whole thing. Freshy's community. Well, let's let the Freshy part run, and we'll get to that.
Keep it fresh so I don't block canals. Let the fans decide who will be my pal.
Keep it fresh so I don't block canals. Freshy Canal. Let the fans decide who will be my pals. Freshy and Discord canceled a subpar rap battle of YouTube. That was going to be We Scheme versus Freshy Canal. After Cam got pissed that my wife told him that he's not allowed to tell her how to experience feminism. And he directly told me after I explained, I was like, look, these are the positions that I hold and my wife holds. I'd be glad to talk to anyone who's mad on your Discord, in detail about what's a joke and what's real. There are certain things that they might not like to hear. There are certain things that myself and my wife believe about the differences between men and women and the psychology of men and women that are scientifically based that some people aren't comfortable with. But I'd be glad to talk through it with them to let them know that me holding these opinions aren't a threat to their freedoms or their individualities or how they perceive things. he denied that opportunity to talk to his fans. He said, my fans are too liberal. They're too liberal to, literally, these are the things at the DMs. He said, they're too liberal to have those conversations. They're not going to be able to. And he's like, and I'm pretty liberal. I don't agree with most of what you're saying, but I can understand where you're coming from. But my fans, they can't. So I have to dissociate from you. You can't make this shit up. I still have the DMs. But yeah, so basically, that's why I said, let the fans decide who will be my pals. So that's me calling out Freshy on basically just being a bitch, two-faced little bitch. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He was just like, look, I don't agree with you politically, but I understand where you're coming from, and I can see why what you're saying isn't dangerous, and I can see where the misunderstanding comes from. But my fans can't, and I don't trust them to have be able to have a reasonable conversation because they're really liberal. I was like, well, I mean, that checks out. So that's, those against Freshy and Cam are more disses, not disses on them as individuals as a whole. Just that situation is hilariously ironic, and I talk about it semi-frequently. If you've been around me, you know I've talked about that issue. And I think that's really it in the song, right? As far as names, being fake, blah, blah, blah. I think the rest of the song really goes into attacking the viewers, and the viewers being the things that people say about me. And the fact that I'm making this video and this whole thing about the viewers and the fans being stupid can be summed up in this spot of the video. So I will leave us on this note of, we're in a 20-minute video, and this is how I feel about it.
Dealing with you dumb fucks is a fuck ton of work.
Because I shouldn't have needed to explain all this, but here we are. Anyway, if you made it to this far, let me know. Hashtag no thumbnail moment. Or I guess hashtag late thumbnail moment. This is a perfect thumbnail for this. I should probably block out the F word. So let me just get over here. I can't really block it. How do I block it? There's 2 F-bombs. The thumbnail's gonna be mad at that, but I like this image. Oh well, I guess I have to get a different image. Hashtag YouTube thumbnail censorship or something. I don't know. I don't think anyone's still watching this. So if you comment those hashtags, hashtag you're cool. Let's get back. Guns and middle fingers. It's blurry enough that I don't think the algorithm will catch it. So we're just gonna. Who did I piss off? Anyway, until we explore again. See you next time.